Hey, good morning. We'll go ahead and get started. My name is, if you don't know who I am, Joey Gilbert, President and CEO of the Associated General Contractors. And on behalf of the AGCA, I want to welcome you here. This is being brought to you by our AGC Builders Committee. And on behalf of the Builders Committee, also, thanks for being here. Some of you were here yesterday for a similar presentation with UDOT. So those that came twice, 2 days in a row, welcome again. You get extra credit. So thanks for being here again. It's our privilege to have DFCM join us today for our outlook, our legislative update, but really what it ends up turning into is saying, okay, here's what happened during the legislative session. Here's how it's impacting you as builders in the construction community. And really, what does that do for funding and future projects? We've been fortunate here in the state of Utah to have a legislature that really values the product that you as contractors deliver each and every day in partnership with our friends at DFCM. And because of that, the state legislature looks favorably upon our state agencies and the work that they're doing. And the legislature shows that appreciation by giving us additional funds and money for projects. But so again, thanks to you as contractors that are out there working hard each and every day on state projects, delivering quality projects that our state legislature visibly sees and appreciates as a state. But it's my privilege to also introduce Matt Boyer. I don't think Matt needs an introduction. Matt's been with DFCM for a long time and a good friend of the AGC and in partnership with the AGC Builders Committee. Let me put a shameless plug in for the Builders Committee. We have a number of you here in attendance today participating, but if you would like to be involved with the AGC Builders Committee, we typically meet every other month and have some great dialogue with DFCM and other construction issues throughout the state, but could certainly use your input and insight. If you'd like to participate, please send me an email or anybody from the AGC's office an email, and we'd be happy to add you to that database so you can get the minutes and notices and those types of things for those meetings. Also, I'd like to also recognize Mike Gombre with us as well, the Deputy Director of DSCM. If you're not aware or not heard, I'd be surprised if you haven't, but Jim Russell, former DFCM Director, has left DFCM and is now taking a role at the University of Utah. And the DFCM Director's position is there's a search for that now, but again, there'll be something probably here towards the end of the month that will the end of April that will get some additional information and find out who might be taking that role. We got our favorites, but I won't tell you who those are. So anyways, with that, I'll turn the time over to Matt. Again, thanks, Matt, for being here. Appreciate it. And then if you have questions, I would say I'll let Matt direct it from there. But anyways, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Get back.
Thanks, Joey. It's always a pleasure to come out and present to the AGC. We've done it for the past couple of years. There's a couple things, Joey kind of hit on one of the main things that Mike Ambre's been named our interim director with Jim leaving DFCM. And so he's trying to fill in for that role. And while we will miss Jim, we look forward to the future and what that potential holds. So also we want to do one shameless plug. For those that may be interested in coming out and meeting with our project managers, getting to know some of them, or if you have interest in any of the projects that they're doing, it's a great opportunity. We have our annual meet and greet that will be coming up on Wednesday, April 24th here at the AJC's office. We've had pretty good participation in the past years, and we'd invite you to come out and be part of that again upcoming. And like I said, it's a great opportunity to get to meet some of the project managers, get to find out, do some networking with them, find out the different projects that they're working on, and also be able to see what maybe some of those milestone delivery dates and project schedules that will be part and have those conversations with them. Now, one of the things I do need to mention is in the past years, we've gotten a lot of funding. A lot of projects came from that funding. This year is a little bit different. I hate to be the bearer of bad news in that way, but we didn't get as much funding as what we normally see, and we'll kind of go into some of that. One of the things is that got funded was what we call the Utah Fair Park Area Investment and Redevelopment District. $1 billion of state funding is going towards this. This is in partnership with the Larry H. Miller Group, bringing in several $1 billion to the project as well. You probably saw this on the news, but part of this project takes the Utah State Fair Park and basically realign some of the spaces there, which will allow them to build a future baseball stadium, hopefully at some point, in conjunction with the Larry H. Miller Group. The governor will be appointing a board that kind of helps to oversee this development in this district area, kind of like what they've done at the Point of the Mountain. And so right now, we don't fully understand what that's going to look like or what DFCM's role will be as part of that. However, once the governor appoints those board members to that, we'll get a better understanding of what that looks like, and we'll be able to hopefully have a little bit more information for you in the future. The properties kind of highlighted in the purple area there just kind of show what that area is and that redevelopment is going to look like and what will be affected through that project. The other thing that is of note is the University of Utah, the West Valley Hospital, received authorization to increase their bonding ability on this project. It went from $400 million previously that had been approved to $800 million this year. And so that solicitation and the getting ready to put that out there for that design build project continues to evolve. The university is getting closer with this update and with this authorization. And so we're hoping that we'll see that here fairly soon. Taylor Maxfield is the DFCM project manager that's on that. And if you have any questions before the solicitation's posted, he'd probably be the one you'd want to reach out to and just ask a little bit more information or get a little more understanding in that. But we're hoping that we'll see that here in the next month or so. But with it being the university, everything's a little bit in flux, especially with the change in leadership that they've had. One of the things that got approved this past session was $75 million to go towards the Huntsman Cancer Vineyard Research Campus. The Huntsman Group is providing up to 200, if I remember correctly from the presentation they gave in the session, but they'll be bringing close to $200 million to the project, or over $200 million, I should say, to the project as well in that partnership. They have, I believe, around $150 million currently raised in funds for that. That will be located down in Utah County, just in Vineyard, and it will begin programming here soon. It will be a CMGC delivery method on that one. And again, right now, Taylor Maxfield is the project manager that will be slated to be working with the university on that project. The next one is 2 stores were approved for property purchase. So the way the DABS and their account works now is they have a revolving fund where some of their proceeds will come in and come back to their this revolving fund that they generate. And as part of those proceeds, they'll be able to purchase new properties. It'll pay for the design and construction of future stores and remodels, things of that nature. The South Salt Lake store will be replaced. And the total project value is $12 million. And again, this year we got authorization to begin that property search. This one and the next store, the Murray store, are going to be difficult properties to procure. There's just, given those areas, given the density within those, and that property search will take a bit of time. And so they gave us authorization to go ahead and get those properties purchased. Once we have that, next year we'll come back to the legislature to get authorization to be able to proceed into design and construction for those. Just on a side note too, for those that are interested or those that follow DABS work, we have worked with DABS to come up with a couple of prototype stores. And so there's going to be one will be coming out here to bid probably within the next, I'd say 3 to 4 months. One in Marriott Slaterville, for those that are familiar with the Ogden area, and then one in Roy. And those two are the 2 different prototypes. Each of those stores will be a prototype store. They'll be coming out. So you'll be able to get your arms around those and kind of see what that's like. And then also, hopefully, we'll be able to start to maximize some efficiencies as contractors and subcontractors in particular become familiar with those stores, what it takes to build them, and what's involved with those. One of the other projects that got approved was the Southern Utah University Highway 56 Phoenix Plaza. This is currently a building that is being leased by Southern Utah University down there in the Cedar City area. This is a property purchase that will have at the initial part of the project will be a re-roofing project as well. And then once the roof is on, once they keep the water from coming in the building, it'll then turn into a remodel project later on with agency funds. Brandon Stokes will be doing the re-roofing project along with our real estate group that will help with the property purchase on that one. Now, one of the new construction projects that did get funded is the Utah State University Human Resource Building. This is a little under a $10 million project that will be up there on the Logan campus. It will need to enter into programming here soon. In talking with Lucas, the project manager has been assigned to it. It will follow the design, bid, build type delivery method on that one. And so you'll see that in the solicitation for the programming / design services should be posted here within the next month or two. Another new project that was approved was the Snow College Social Science Classroom and Laboratory down there in their Ephraim campus. This is a $41 million project that will involve several labs, different classroom space that will happen down there, 45,000 square feet total. We have a feasibility study that was done back in 2017, so that'll probably need to be updated through the programming services that will happen. And that solicitation should be coming out within the next, at this point, I'd say about 4 weeks that you'll see that coming out. Ashley Greenwood, it says to be determined on the project manager. That determination's been made, and that'll be Ashley Greenwood within our office that will be managing that one. And then the next one is the Ogden Weber Tech College up there in Ogden. This is their Pathway building. It's a 120,000 square foot facility that will have some of their high-tech classroom space, some of their different laboratories in which they serve. It's an $84 million project in general. The feasibility study has been done. We are undetermined at this point if it's going to go design, build, or CMGC, but it will be one of those two methods, I'm assuming, as we kind of work through that process and get through and into programming. The program should be, or the solicitation for programming services, we would imagine will be going out here within the next month. And then currently, I assigned myself, to be honest with you, on that project. It's close to home. It's one that I've worked with the college before, and so I cherry-picked that one. Just had a full disclosure. So we'll be moving forward in that one here fairly quickly. And then the Utah Valley University received an authorization to enter into pre-construction services for the student-athlete building. This is a 37,000 square foot building that will house training and fitness opportunities as well as academic support for their student athletes down at the university. Right now, it's being slated as a $29 million overall project, but they received authorization to spend up to $3.5 million for pre-construction services. So they'll be able to go through programming, design, do some of those investigatory things that'll need to happen as far as geotech and other services, surveying that. In order to get that project in the next session, they'll have to go back to the legislature to seek authorization for the full appropriation for the remainder of design services and construction. And Clint Bunnell within our office is the project manager that's been assigned to that one. As far as capital improvement funding, we received $252 million this last year, which consists of over 400 projects or capital improvement projects that will happen throughout the state amongst the various stakeholders that we serve. Our capital improvement project group will continue to push those out as they come up. And again, the meet and greet's a great opportunity. If there's a project that you're interested in, that you want to find out a little bit more about it, you can go to the DFCM website, and we have all of those capital improvement projects posted on there with their dollar value, and then also the project manager that's assigned to that. And so it's a great opportunity to be able to go and take a look at that and find out a little bit more about those projects. And that covers re-roofing projects to paving to mechanical upgrades, electrical upgrades, and other type of remodels / infrastructure projects. So there's a couple of design requirement changes that we wanted to make everyone aware of that happened with this session as well. Many of you saw some of the news that was going on at the very beginning of the session regarding the all-gender restrooms and what some of that entails. As far as all-gender restrooms, there's a couple things that we need to note. They have to have dual entrances into the restroom. Most of the example you see on the left will be how majority of the restrooms that will be going into new state buildings will be set up to that in that manner right there, with a wall that kind of separates them at first. There will be one restroom that will happen probably close to the main floor or where the most public interface would be on in those buildings. And then that partition wall there will be able to be taken down at some point with the DFCM director's approval to allow them to be all-inclusive or all-gender in that regard. Part of the things that we've been trying to get a good understanding on is how much these restrooms will be utilized. There is some cost impact that we have to take into consideration as they have floor to ceiling height partitions. They each have their own drain. It changes the mechanical and fire systems that go into those facilities. And so as we've studied this, we've realized there's quite a significant cost that goes to these changes that happen with these restrooms. And so we're trying to understand what that full impact would be. Before we go full steam on that, we need to make sure that we're spending state dollars judiciously, and that if we do put them into place, that they're going to be utilized. And so this will be for the new construction on existing buildings. We've been commissioned to do a study that will take a look at what's available within the state inventory and what changes can be made to offer these type of restroom facilities in existing state buildings. And that study will be getting place here soon as we kind of get a look and identify what needs to happen for those and what changes will be part of future capital improvement projects. Some of the other new statutes that passed, again, the HB 257 kind of talks about this sex-based designations for privacy. This incorporates restrooms, incorporates changing areas. A lot of our universities, for example, have natatoriums or building pool areas that, gyms, things like that. And so it does require a government entity to report any kind of allegations that may be happening of criminal offenses to law enforcement. It does require us to adopt a privacy compliance plan. And then also it talks about the single occupant facility or the single occupant restroom that will have to be made publicly available in new construction projects, and then take into account those remodel or retrofits that will happen on existing buildings. One thing to note as well is on an existing structure, if we are able, or I should say it does allow a change in the code as far as the provided restroom count that has to happen within a facility. If we are to take out a couple of restrooms in order to be able to provide this single occupant restroom facility, it allows us to reduce the overall stall count within the building and still meet code. One of the other things that you may have heard of was SB 168. This is in regards to the Affordable Building Amendment that happened. And what this does is it allows for pre-built homes or portions of pre-built homes that may happen off-site, kind of like what we see a lot of times in commercial applications, to happen away from the actual point of contact or where the building is being constructed. So basically what it does is it allows for a third-party inspector to be hired by DFCM that will go out and inspect these facilities that are building these type of structures off-site, get them approved, and then allow them to come into place and be set up. There's many jurisdictions throughout the state that currently don't even allow any type of off-site construction to happen as far as the residential market's concerned. And so this will kind of help to correct that. And it allows DFCM to kind of, like I said, hire a third-party inspector to come in, verify that they're being constructed properly, that those certifications, much like our steel fabricators, for those that may be familiar with our pre-approved steel fabricator list, the same type of concept will happen here, where you'll have a third party that'll come in, they'll certify that shop that they're being built to code and that they're meeting the standard. SB 190. This is the higher education development area. And what the intent of this bill was is it would allow universities, institutions of higher education to go out and designate set portions of state property on their campus for revenue generating type facilities. You may have seen in the news that the governor vetoed this bill. And so we're still looking at what that will be and what the effect of that will be. I know that there is some desire from higher education In particular, I think the University of Utah is still interested in this and is still looking forward to the way to do this. The initial approval of the bill was for a study, and I believe the governor's comments, at least to the media at this point, was we don't need a bill to approve a study. So we're still getting our arms wrapped around that and see what that will look like in the future, what that may hold. And that's it. Any questions that anyone from the group may have? Yeah. That's a good question. We haven't had that discussion yet. Our building code official has been looking at it. Tom Peterson, who's also a state legislature, uh, is looking into what that might entail and how other states are currently handling that. I know there are several different other states throughout the country that are doing this type of service. And so we're still trying to get our arms around what that will look like long term. I would assume that with anything that it's going to, at some point, if it's going to be, and here's just to pull back the curtain a little bit, there's been some discussion if those will be DFCM employees or if they will be a third-party inspector that we will hire to go out and service those. I would assume that it will be a third party, is my gut would tell me, but we haven't fully vetted that out yet, so I can't give you an honest answer. If it is a third party, it would go out for it would go out for a public posting though. Yes. So for those that hopefully everyone heard what Mike said, but we will be posting a solicitation here for the upcoming, within the next 2 months, that will identify potential contractors that can work on DABS projects. Basically what it is it's like our multi-step process where stage 1's the pre-qualification, and then stage 2 will be the bidding of those projects. That pre-qual will happen here, like I said, within the next month or two. We were trying to push our project managers to get it out within the next month, just to meet the timing of when that Marriott, Slaterville, and Roy store come out. So basically, stage 1 will be you get pre-qualified, and then anyone that's pre-qualified will be able to bid on stage 2. No, that new warehouse will have to be, that warehouse addition will be separate. It'll be outside of that. This will be specific to those stores, or 2 stores, the upcoming stores that we'll have in the next probably 3. My guess is at this point, it'd probably be a 2 to 3 year contract or pre-qualification period that will happen for those. And then, so once you get on it, any of the ABS stores that will come out within the next 2 to 3 years, depending on what that term is in the solicitation, will be how long you'll be able to, and which contractors will be allowed to bid on those projects. Any other questions? So it's very similar. They funded it at the same percentage of what we've had in the past. And when I say percentage, the way they take a look at that and the way they determine how much capital improvement funding will happen is they take a look at what our total value, our asset value is, building inventory wise. And then they come up with, I believe they funded it at 1.5% this year, which is what they have in the past. And is still overall very good. There's been years, I remember back towards the beginning when I started with DFCM, it was at 0.8%. And so it's almost doubled from where it was previously or historically. So yeah, it was a really good year for capital improvement funding. And I think that's a credit to the legislature, recognizing the value and maintaining the buildings, you know what I mean, and continuing to invest in that. So in the past, and it fluctuates from year to year, but over the past couple of years, we've received over $1 billion worth of new construction funding. You can see that the State Fair Park redevelopment sucked up a lion's share of that this year. And so we don't have near as many projects that we do or have had historically over the past 3 or 4 years. And that may change once we find out what our involvement will be in that district, but as of right now, we don't know. Good to see you. Yeah. Yeah, so the question was about this DFCM statewide master plan and the space utilization that is part of that. We're still, originally the statewide master plan was to evaluate buildings overall and what the space efficiency is uh, as far as employees to net square footage for those areas and assignable workspaces. That continues to evolve with COVID starting to kind of slow down and everyone starting to return to the workplace. At one point, it was set up, the statewide master plan was set up to have about, as far as assignable desk square footage or FTEs, as we like to call them, to desk ratio was about 1.25, I think is what we were shooting for. During COVID, that escalated and we pushed that up and started pushing the boundaries on that to almost get it to 2 employees per desk assigned ratio. Each state agency is kind of handling that a little bit differently as to what they, as far as how many employees are required to come back into the office and how much they're required to come back into the office. So as we continue to see what that is and as that continues to evolve, we'll have to continue to refine where that will actually be. It's the governor's intent, to my understanding at least, that we want to make space, especially state space, as efficient as possible and really capture and maximize that ratio that we can. And so as we continue to refine that and as things continue to evolve, we'll have to keep our eye on that and continue to work for that. But that definitely is a priority for the governor and for the state and for DFCM in particular. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, I should say one thing is I saw a lot of people we asked it's all right if we would send that you would like to see happen, just let Joey know and
Matt, again, thanks to, of course, Matt, Mike, for being here. Matt touched on it. So we have a DFCM. Online, sorry, I apologize. Let me start all over. I'm kidding. For those that are online, I apologize, but we have a DFCM meet and greet on Wednesday, April 24th. It'll begin at 11 o'clock, go to about 3 o'clock here at the AGC headquarters. If you've not had an opportunity to come to those, I'd encourage you to do so. We have the entire DFCM team come down. They talk a little bit more in detail. Well, they share a little bit more, some additional insights, but it's an opportunity for you to talk to those folks that are leading these projects. And again, great opportunity just to visit with them and get some more insight. So please put that on your calendar if you're planning to attend. Aside from that, again, thanks for what DFCM does. As Matt indicated, this legislative session, there was some priorities set by the state legislature to give back to the taxpayers through tax cuts and some other things, decrease some of the state funding, even though we had the largest state budget that we've ever had at about $29 billion. So we appreciate the hard work of our state legislature as well as our state agencies that assist in that process. Some other things that you'll know, as I'm writing an article for Utah Construction Design, going in greater detail of the legislative impacts that this session had. AGC was tracking nearly 60 pieces of legislation. There was just under 600 bills passed this past legislative session. And again, we had some great wins in both, I would say, defeating some harebrained ideas, maybe is a good way to say it. There's not a shortage of bad ideas on Capitol Hill, but in some of the defeats as well as some of the wins. I can say that publicly, these guys probably cannot, but anyways, so we had a great legislative session and look for that recap to know how those impacted you specifically. But with that, I'll conclude unless there's any questions anyone has for me. But again, thanks for being here. We appreciate you taking the time out of your morning to spend some time with us here. So thank you.